Okay, so you can get started by collecting your materials. You're going to need a roll of flower stem tape. You're going to need some thin wire, probably about 2 or 3 pieces. Make sure that you get thin wire out of this box. There's thick wire as well. You'll need pruners, you'll need shears, you'll need floral shears, you'll need wire cutters, you may have to share. You'll need only 1 mass flower, okay, so in our boutonnieres, we only need 1 mass flower, so you have either a carnation today or a chrysanthemum, and there might also be some leftover roses in the cooler that you could use as well. You'll need 1 piece of green. So we have lemon leaf. When you're picking your lemon leaf piece, you want to try to get a piece that has as long of a little tiny stem as possible on the end of it. So try to get one, try to take a cutting of a leaf that has a really long stem on there. Petiole is actually the correct term. Or a nice piece of leather leaf. You'll also need a little bit of filler flower, okay, so that is either wax flower we have available, or, this won't focus, or limonium, okay. So you could also use limonium. There might also be some baby's breath around you could use. You will also need 2 squares of tulle, okay, so, yeah, again, you'll need 2 squares of tulle. They do not have to be perfectly cut. You could also use ribbon or tie a bow instead. This is going to be for finishing off our boutonniere. And so I'm just going to zoom out so you can pause and collect all of your materials that you'll need. So go ahead and pause and collect your materials. Okay, so the first step to making our boutonniere is to start with our mass flower. So I'm going to show you how to wire, what needs to be wired for a boutonniere. You're going to, any flower or stem that you put into the boutonniere, you're going to cut to about 1 inch, 1.5 inches, okay? For our mum, if you want to use this as your mass flower, right, we're only going to use 1 of these, what you're going to do is you are going to take, it's hard to see, you're going to take a piece of straight wire, and I'm going to actually insert this into the bottom of this stem here, okay? So I'm pushing this in until it comes out of the top, okay? You can see that here. And then I'm going to bend this wire just to make a little hook. Okay, once I've made a hook, this is called the hook method of wiring, and it is because we've made a little hook, and then we're just gonna pull this hook down through the center of our flower until we can no longer see it. Okay, and so now our flower is wired so that we can use that. I'm going to use my wire cutters to cut this this wire a little bit shorter because it's very long. It's hard to see, but this is like how long the wire is. So I'm just going to cut off about half of this wire for this type of wire methoding. Then I'm going to tape my wired stem. I do need to cover starting at the top, the very tippity top of the stem, and then I am just going to tape down and around the stem. Again, I'm stretching and pulling that tape as I twist. Each twist I'm stretching and pulling a little bit. That is the trick and the key. As I twist, I pull and stretch. This is going to be a pain in the tuchus like floral headbands, but must be done. We got to cover those mechanics, okay? So now this is ready to be used in the boutonniere. I'm going to show you how to ready a carnation in case you decide to use that type of flower. Again, we're going to start off by cutting just the, we're going to cut the stem so that there's just about 1 inch to 1.5 inches left on the stem. For this type of flower, we have a piece of anatomy here called the calyx, okay? So this is all this green part that's around protecting the petals and holding the petals together. This guy does not have a calyx, which is why we use the hook method of wiring. This is the pierce method of wiring. And so to wire something with a calyx, we're literally going to pierce the wire into the calyx. So I'm just kind of like, just want to show you that I'm just halfway in there, or in the middle of this calyx, excuse me, and I've pierced it. Slide this through, bring this down, boom, that's done. And then again, I'm going to tape this. Okay. So this doesn't have to be perfect taping because we are going to end up taping again. Notice I didn't cut the wire for my pierce method of wiring. I don't need to because the wire is significantly shorter because we put it in half. Okay. Boom, this flower is ready to go into your boutonniere if you're going to use that. For your greens, if you're using leather leaf, you'll just want to make sure that you have a good inch of stem to be taped onto into the boutonniere. We don't need to wire this piece of green. This piece of green, however, we do need to wire. So what we'll do for this one is we'll take our wire, okay, I'm holding it by each end here. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to just fold it in half. So I'm bringing the two ends together, okay, I'm going to hold them, and then I'm just making almost like a long skinny U, okay, so I've just folded my wire in half here, and I've just made a little U shape here. Let me see if I can make that clearer. Maybe that's a little better. Okay, so I've just made a little U shape here, and so it's just one long U, okay, boom, all the way to the top. So then I'm going to take my end here, the top of the U, right, or the ends of the wire here. Oh, if I put my skin here, I'm going to take the ends of the wire. Come on, focus. All right, well, then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pierce, right, we have our little stem here. This is called a petiole. It's a stem that holds a leaf to the main stem, stem-like structure, I should say, that holds the leaf to the main stem. So this little piece here is a petiole. We have our mid-vein, our midrib on the plant, and so we're going to pierce this plant just above the petiole and on either side of the midrib. So you can see, let's see if you can see. Maybe I can do this with one hand. Something. So check it out. I have pierced on each side of the midrib here. Bear with me. I am filming by myself. There we go. Okay, so you can see that, and I'm just going to continue to push this through. Normally I would do this with two hands, obviously, but I am attempting this with one. Okay, and so now I'm going to tape this together by taping the little petiole and this in place. Okay, so again, I'm just starting at the top here, around that little petiole, and then I'm just going to go down and tape this entire wire. Okay, so once you have wired and taped your mass flower, again, you're only picking one, either a carnation or a mum for today, if you're going to use lemon leaf, you'll need to tape your lemon leaf, wire and tape your lemon leaf. You do want to make sure that your greens can be seen all the way around your plant. So this piece of lemon leaf is a little small for this carnation, for example, but it is a fine size for this mum because we can see all around the mum. One thing too, and so just to show you a good example here, this is fitting of this carnation. You can see there's green all the way around the mass flower. So I think I'm going to use this, I think I'm going to use this carnation today. So my next step is to attach my filler flower to this. And so one thing that I like to think about when I'm designing is boutonnieres is that this is going to be flat on the chest. I want to make sure that we're keeping this nice and light. We want to try to leave as much tape and weight off of this as possible. And so I like to design a lot of the flats on the desk. So like if I'll put my green down, and then I'm kind of like positioning my carnation here, my mass flower, to see what I want. Okay, so I'm going to make that the front, and then I'll start kind of looking like, okay, well, how do I want this filler flower to look in here? I need to do this, I need to design with it flat because otherwise it might come out smushed looking and not right. Like it might be really hard to see and you might end up hiding your filler flower behind your plant. So when you're designing, please make sure that you lay it flat, okay? That you lay it flat and design with it flat on the table like so that you can see what design you're making. Otherwise, you'll end up, if you hold it up here and you put your filler flower in, it might look pretty the way that it is, but then if you put it flat against the person, you won't see any of the filler flower, okay? So design with it flat on the table to make sure you can see. The same goes for corsages. They're meant to be laid flat, so we want to make sure that we're designing with this flat. Okay, so let me just throw this together. My next step is going to be to tape. Actually, I'm going to actually tape my filler flower to the mass flower. I do not need to wire my filler flower. Okay, so I'm going to make sure it looks good flat. And then again, I've just added this. I moved a little piece around to the front. Okay, and then I just have some pieces coming out of the back. I'm going to tape anywhere that the filler flower is over the stem. So again, I'm taping here to start. I'm taping up high. I want to make sure that I get all this covered so that this looks like one clean piece here where the calyx is, okay? One clean piece. I am going to be a little bit neater with my tape job this time. Take a little more time because now you're going to start to kind of cover up any mistakes or gaps that you had in your last set of taping. I'm not going to go all the way down the stem to keep it a little bit lighter. Okay, now that I've done my filler flower, my next step is to add my foliage. In this case, again, I'm using leather leaf. Okay, so this will look really nice just so you can see what it looks like flat. Again, I'm going to tape this in place. Okay, and make sure, oops, my stem is a little bit longer than my other stem, so I'm actually going to cut that just to make it the same length so it's not lumpy and weird in my tape job. Okay, my next step is to make a tulle poof. So I'm going to take my two squares, I'm going to overlap them like so. Okay, so they're just kind of not perfectly lined up. Then I'm going to take them and I'm just going to kind of pinch in the center of my square and just kind of wrench them up. My tulle poof is going to be a finishing touch. Okay, so we have this empty open space here at the bottom of our arrangement. This is going to go here to just be a finishing touch to this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another skinny piece of wire. Let me find a skinny piece in here. And then I'm just going to, I just took my poof in my hand, here's the end. I kind of like wrap it around. Okay, I've wrapped it around the wire. Let me just show you. Just kind of wrapped it around. I'm going to fold my wire in half, right? So it's wrapped around one side of the wire, and then I'm just twist tying this in place. This is also going to be taped again, so it should still hold nicely, okay? And then I'm going to tape this right up at the base of my boutonniere. Again, I can put this on the table to make sure it looks okay. And now I'm going to tape this up. And then we'll just need to finish this off. I'm going to kind of play with it, make sure it looks good as I'm doing this. And we'll tape all the way down so we can cover this wire. We want to make sure that our boutonniere is not twisting, that the tulle is not twisting, the tulle poof isn't twisting to the wrong side as we're designing. Okay, we want to make sure it stays center, take our time with this. I know I look like I'm going quickly, but it's just because I've made a lot of these and I'm actually getting tangled anyway. Okay, so we're going to roll down, we're going to make sure everything is covered because this is our final taping. And the almost last steps are to finish off the end here, right? So I have this long, weird bit of wire, and there's two ways that I can finish this. I can either take a pencil and do the curlicue method, right? So that's where you just kind of curl this wire around a pencil. Voila. I slide the pencil out. I tighten up my curls, fluff up my tulle poof, and then boom, I have a boutonniere. So this is it. You can kind of see, oh, if you wanted to do a different end, you could literally take your wire cutters and cut this off entirely. Okay, and you could have a blunt end, but you do need to cover that with a little bit of tape and make sure it looks nice and neat. This is a more modern kind of look. You could also finish this by using raffia instead. So I could show you some examples of that when you go to make your actual corsages. Make sure you post a photo of your practice boutonniere to Google Classroom, and thank you.